Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and in this one I wanted to discuss where the Call of Duty community, for those of us that are still passionate about traditional multiplayer, where do we go from here? And on top of that, you guys have to understand what I meant by traditional multiplayer. Now granted, even though in the last video I said how it's basically taken a back seat, and granted I'm not the only one that's saying that, it's basically Activision that's saying that by saying that Warzone is going to be in the forefront. So let's just keep it real here. Over the last couple years, Call of Duty multiplayer is not exactly what it's been. I'd say Black Ops 4 was the last of the bit that we got in terms of that familiarity with Call of Duty, with the matchmaking and all that kind of stuff. Granted, there's been some funky stuff previously that's been going on with the matchmaking, but certainly not to the degree of Modern Warfare 2019, and certainly not to the degree of what's going on with the patent in Cold War, which is obviously going to be something that is going to be sticking around because, according to Activision, it's made them tons of money. Now, granted, yes, there is a pandemic and there are more people staying inside more than ever. And it seems like with all the content creators out there, big and small, that absolutely tried their best in terms of hashtag boycott the battle pass or, remove skill-based matchmaking or whatever you want to say, we are pretty much the minority, very much so. And you know what? A part of me looks at it this way. A part of me is actually kind of flattered, actually, that they went so far in depth as to create a patent to basically nerf us to the degree that we're nerfed right now and to make it unfair. A part of me is obviously pissed off, and another part of me is actually flattered because we are we just got too good, and it got to the point to where I guess a lot of people just gave up playing the game. I personally don't think so, because even in Infinite Warfare to this day, you can go either on PlayStation or on Xbox. You can get on there, you can hop on, and you will still find a ton of noobs, and especially in team-based games, they're not going to quit that easily. In free-for-alls, yeah, they will quit a hell of a lot easier because they're solo or whatnot. But when people are playing together and people are playing on teams, it's a little bit more tolerable to get your ass handed to you because, well, again, when there's teams compared to everybody playing on their own, there's a little bit of a difference there. But anyway, so the thing is this. Now, first of all, if you guys have lost any faith in just how powerful a small community of passionate players could be, I please urge you, especially if you have like about 90 minutes to 2 hours of time on your hands at any given point, I highly recommend you look this up on YouTube. It's called Fight On, and it's basically the Killer Instinct documentary. And it is a very fascinating story to where they brought the fighting game of Killer Instinct back in 2013 after basically ever since 1996 was when the last time we saw of it. And fans were constantly talking about them like making Killer Instinct, and then eventually they listened and it ended up happening. And basically a passionate community to this day is actually keeping the game going, and on top of that has actually made the game to what it is, which is actually a very, very, very solid fighting game. And I actually grew up on Killer Instinct. For those of you guys that don't know about my gaming history, fighting games were actually the most time I spent playing any genre type of video game back in the 90s, actually, and even to the early 2000s to a certain extent. But as I got older, I started expanding until Call of Duty pretty much took over my life, especially in 2011 and 2012 with Black Ops 1, Modern Warfare 3, and then Black Ops 2. Black Ops 2 was pretty much the nail in the coffin, where I specifically just played pretty much nothing but Call of Duty all the time and very little of anything else. So the question is, now in 2021, where do we go for those of us that crave that fair Call of Duty type of esque experience of a fast-paced Twitch arcade first-person shooter without the bullshit of the elo-based matchmaking or the engagement optimization-based matchmaking? Now, obviously, skill-based matchmaking is in a few other titles out there, but I think it's safe to say that even though it's a pain in the ass, it's not to the degree that the patent is with Black Ops Cold War and what is presumably going to be every single Call of Duty out there after that. Because obviously they're continuing to make more money, and the majority of that is from Warzone, and there's no doubt about that. And it's actually debatable of which multiplayer side of Call of Duty has more of a player base, whether it's Cold War or Modern Warfare. But to this day, Modern Warfare is still heavily populated. I know a lot of players that actually enjoy that, getting on there and playing together, and they kind of do their own thing as well, and they have fun with it. And the game itself, Modern Warfare, let's be real here, even though it is, in terms of the crazy camp fest that it is, in terms of stability, hit detection, the weapons and stuff like that, it is a very solid game at its core. But the gameplay design decisions were basically catered to a very campy, safe space type of game, which a lot of Call of Duty veterans disagreed with. And there's a small handful of them that actually agreed with it and liked it. But for the most part, the people that were traditional Call of Duty veterans, especially the people that were good at the game, pub stompers, we're talking about people like what I used to be. I don't consider myself a pub stomper anymore. Now that I'm on PC, it's basically like starting over again. So I basically leave the past behind me. If you guys want to know how good I was, just look in my previous videos, and you'll find some stuff. So my recent gameplays are basically like old gameplays that I never really used, that I saved for whatever reason. But you go back anywhere for a couple months or before from now, you'll see some pretty good shit. But and I pride myself in that, because I didn't really have a handicap to help me out, unlike today's generation of gamers. So I am a person that actually takes a lot of pride in that, because I learned the hard way, as opposed to having something handed to me and getting a participation trophy. So, but with that being said, I'm happy with PC. So going on to the nitty gritty now, after saying everything that I had to say, where do we go from here? So for those of us that are that small portion of the community that craves that Call of Duty experience, but without all the bullshit that the patent is giving us, like fucking with our ping, fucking with our hit detection. For those of you guys that are on console, the aim assist. For those of us that are on PC, the hit detection. Things like that. Things that are evenly fair. And if you want to put skill-based matchmaking, fine. Put in skill-based matchmaking, but as long as it doesn't fuck with our ping, and as long as the hit detection and everything else stay stable. Kind of like how Modern Warfare is now in its current state. But anyway, but granted, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some shit going on, but it's a hell of a lot less noticeable than it is in Cold War. So where do we go from here? Well, as of recently, Apex Legends had tweeted out that they are very much looking forward to going into Beyond Battle Royale, and it's already been leaked that there is going to be a 3v3 or maybe just a regular 6v6 team deathmatch mode in smaller parts of the map, as well as there was an image specifically leaked that basically showed a layout of the map, and there's a spawn side on each side of the map, and the layout of the map, which looks pretty damn awesome to me. I'm not a Battle Royale player, but I did play a little bit of Apex Legends, and I can tell you for sure that I really like the way the game moves, and it's smooth. It's basically like the pilots in Titanfall, but without the wall running, if I'm not mistaken. And it's kind of like a little bit of a hero-based shooter put into it, thrown into the mix. So a lot of players in terms of the Battle Royale have pretty much requested solos to come back, and I'm sure that's going to be. And Season 9 is basically rumored to be the most ambitious yet. And it's going to be released sometime in, I believe, May. I believe it's May 3rd or slightly after that. So we're looking at about 3 months from now, something like that. So in due time, we're going to get that. And the fact that Vince Zampella is behind Apex Legends, who is the original Call of Duty creator, who used to be in the original Infinity Ward back in 2007 when COD 4 Modern Warfare came out, wham bam, and then Modern Warfare 2. So, I mean, imagine if those guys stayed. Imagine what the game would be like today if they actually stayed, or at least stayed for a little bit longer. Jason West, I think his name is no longer in it. But Vince Zampella is definitely in it, and he's made Titanfall 1, Titanfall 2, great games, Apex Legends, a good battle royale. Players are always going to bitch and moan about their disagreements and agreements with the game, but at least these guys pay a hell of a lot better of attention than Activision. I'd probably say overall the biggest sin that Apex Legends ever committed was basically implementing skill-based matchmaking into the game and not listening to the community about bringing back solos, because it was something that was temporary. But I'm sure that sooner or later they're going to bring back solos permanently, especially since a lot of players have been requesting it at one point. And at this point, in terms of the Battle Royale, they've already submitted themselves as being a very solid Battle Royale game. So it only makes sense to go beyond that. And everybody knows, I mean, when you get skill-based matchmaking, SBMM, trending on Twitter multiple times within a year, or even the last 2 years, people are going to take notice. People are always looking at social media, even when people are not tweeting or responding. They're looking at social media. It is their business. So there are going to be a few games out there that might go after Call of Duty and go in the opposite direction of what Call of Duty is doing to draw more of a player base. Now, granted, it may be a smaller player base, like the minority of us that I'm talking about, or it could be even more than that, because it's not just us, but there is not just us, the content creators, but there's also the players like us that maybe don't watch YouTube or don't do anything that agree with us, and at the same time, we also have viewers that watch us. No matter how small you are, if you're as small as me or if you're slightly bigger, we all have viewers and we all have a fan base. And if there's something that we like and enjoy and we're going to put it out there, enjoy it and put it out there, well, basically, our viewers might at the very least give it a shot. And if they like it, they'll stick with it. And if they don't, they'll move on. It's really that simple. And Apex Legends is going to be one of those games that I think might possibly fill in that void and give us that arcade shootery, fast-paced feeling of COD, and to a certain degree of familiarity while adding in something new that isn't too crazy. So I think we might have something here with that. Now, what other game am I looking at here? Now, another game that comes to light is Halo Infinite. The multiplayer itself is going to be free to play. And if you guys remember, very recently, Microsoft all of a sudden decided to make an announcement that they're going to charge twice as much for Xbox Live. And the entire community went absolutely ape shit. And they definitely did it wrong. Microsoft fucked up. And guess what? They admitted that they fucked up within 24 hours. And they reverted their decision and kept the price the same after they saw that backlash. So with us, with Call of Duty, Activision doesn't do that. No matter how much of we've been backlashing more than ever now with Cold War, right? So did they do anything? No, because it generates more money. Now, even though Microsoft could have gotten away with charging twice the price for Xbox Live, they could have gotten away with it. Let's be real. Okay. It was still a bullshit move, and just the fact that they reverted it goes to show something on Microsoft. And on top of that, another thing that Microsoft and 343, specifically the guys that are making Halo now, have been doing is, well, they delayed the game. Does Call of Duty ever get delayed, no matter how incomplete it is? No. They would rather continue to release an incomplete piece of shit in order to keep making that money. And they know they're going to keep making that money. That's why they did in the first place. So that's why I have faith in Microsoft and 343, because even though they could have gotten away with releasing Halo Infinite earlier, and right now the game, everything that's going to be in the game has been already announced that it's going to be finished, that it's already finished, and they're just basically polishing up at this point. So, and within the next few months, we're actually going to finally get that footage that we've been kind of looking into. And the fact that the multiplayer itself is going to be free to play is going to be a big one. And honestly, I honestly think that Halo and Microsoft and 343 take cheating very seriously, even more seriously than COD, to the point to where they are going to have something in place to keep something like this from happening, especially when it comes to the pro scene or whatnot. So since this game is going to be free to play, and of course it's probably going to be cross-play and possibly cross-gen play, we're not sure about that. They might exclude the Xbox One. But either way, when you're looking at Xbox and PC, that is something that is going to keep the longevity going. And the fact that it's a huge ass game on release that's going to be free to play in the multiplayer side of things. And I believe it's also going to be available for Game Pass members in terms of the campaign and anything else that the game might have to offer. This is something that has tremendous potential. Now, the only downside is that a lot of players that like Call of Duty don't like Halo simply because of the fact that it is it's a lot more competitive because of the time to kill and the way the guns work, the fact that there's no creative class. Basically, the things that Halo do is, even though some players may like Halo and respect it, they prefer the flavor of something similar and more fast-paced, more arcadey, like Call of Duty. But judging from the footage that we saw from E3, there is going to be a flavor of that in there, and I think we don't know exactly what we're going to get yet. We do know that it's going to be all about the melee, the weapon, and the grenade. But at the same time, when you have a free-to-play game like that, and you're going to have more of a player base in the multiplayer side of things, it just opens up the possibility for you to do more, like create additional playlists and different game modes that will attract audiences from different games to come over and play and try your game. I mean, when something is free, that is more than enough of an opportunity for you to grow whatever it is that you're trying to do when it's free to play like that. That's how Fortnite got big. That's how Apex Legends got big, as well as some other games out there. So the multiplayer being free to play is only going to help the game. And if you combine that and their philosophy in terms of how they approach the game, in terms of listening to the fan base, which is something that the Call of Duty community really wants, because nobody's really been talking. And if anybody asks any questions, either on Reddit, they get banned, or on Twitter, if they tweet at Ashton Williams asking about the game, they get banned. I mean, there's people that I know that are in my Twitter timeline, which is very small, by the way, compared to a lot of people that have the subscriber count that I have. They basically, I remember them tweeting, because I do keep an eye on social media. I remember seeing tweets about, I didn't say anything wrong, I didn't say anything mean, I was just asking about something to do with the season or something like that, just a very basic, simple question, and I was banned. And I was blocked. It was like, what? So another reason why we're so passionate about what we're doing here as gamers and content creators, and of course, more importantly, consumers, right? People that are responsible for getting you there in the first place, are all of a sudden being forgotten, like we don't mean anything. And when I look at Microsoft and Halo and 343 in terms of what they've been doing with and what they're continuing to do with the Master Chief Collection, and putting that into their new Halo game, that kind of philosophy has me very optimistic about that game. So that's Halo Infinite and that's Apex Legends so far in the near future. Now, another game is Battlefield 6. Now, my recent tweets and people that followed me that play at Battlefield on a more regular basis than I do, and that are big fans of Battlefield, even though they might prefer Call of Duty a little bit more, they still love Battlefield. And basically, they have educated me that because there's a server browser in every Battlefield game, basically skill-based matchmaking, I guess, is impossible to do on something like that. I personally, again, I'm no genius, but in my mind, I'm like, well, as long as they don't come up with an algorithm, then we should be good. So, but the thing is, they have reassured me that it really doesn't get any more casual than Battlefield. So, and the same thing goes for Star Wars Battlefront and yada, yada, yada. So, and we're talking about 128 players on a map, which is incredible, 64 versus 64. And honestly, this would be a chance for Battlefield to also implement like a close quarters combat game mode or something like that, or a playlist for those people that prefer something a little bit more action-packed. And at the same time, I think that's what the server browser is there for as well, if I'm not mistaken. So, and again, me being new to PC, again, I have explored and played many games, and I'm just really opening my mind to everything and trying to see what I like, what I don't like, what I prefer, what I don't prefer, and kind of expanding my horizons, so to speak, because at the same time, it really is unhealthy just to stick with one thing. I mean, what kind of a jack of all trades would I be, right? If that's the way I live my life, of being a jack of all trades and always being a white belt at something instead of being a master black belt at just that one thing, I think it's better to live your life to be good at many things rather than being great at one thing. So, and this applies to video games, this applies to everything else. So Battlefield 6, I think, has a ton of potential. We're going to know within the next few months, if I'm not mistaken, around spring, in terms of gameplay and further in depth of what they're going to do. So, and it's going to be releasing around the same time as Call of Duty. So that, to me, says like, bring it on, or something like that. So I think that's great. I'm sure Halo Infinite is going to be also releasing at that time. So, yeah. And there's one more game that was on my mind that I wanted to share with you, and I totally forgot what it was called, but I'm recording right now. I'll probably end up posting the title of the game in this, on the video in the front of the screen here, but it is, believe it or not, it is a zero gravity, but don't hang up yet. Don't leave yet. It's a zero gravity space combat shooter that is very similar to how Call of Duty is, with ADS, weapons and classes and stuff like that. It's fairly fast paced, and it's not really camp because you're floating out there, even though you can control where you float and stuff like that. It is, and it's definitely slower than any of the advanced movement Call of Duties we've seen, because it's zero gravity, but it's not slow to the point to where it feels bad. It's basically like you're sprinting, but it's in the openness of space, and the maps are basically like, look up footage of it on YouTube after you see this after I post the title here on the screen. I think you guys might be genuinely surprised, and I think it's going to be a game that's going to be released sometime this year, and it's already been in flight tests. People have been testing it behind the scenes in terms of beta and stuff like that. So I think this game, believe it or not, has some potential. I mean, it's not a definite guarantee, but it might be something for at least some of you to at least look into. So again, guys, when one door closes, they say 4 more open. So, I mean, it's kind of like a breakup, right? Let's say you have a bad breakup or just a breakup with a girl. For those of you that are ladies that are watching this video, you have a bad breakup with a guy. Guess what? There all of a sudden it opens the doors for so many other guys out there, and one of them to possibly come into your life, if not more. For those of you guys that are into that sort of thing, and for those of you the guys that prefer to play the field, no judgment here. I totally understand where you're coming from, so I totally get it, and I respect all walks of life. So the thing is, guys, when one door closes, another 4 open, if not more. So this actually can be seen from a positive standpoint, to where we can definitely be having a better time than we ever thought we could by simply trying out some other games in terms of what other games are going to offer us now that Call of Duty is fucking up by its consumer base, especially those that have been loyal for so many years. Other games out there want us. They want our attention. So they will provide something that will get us to pay attention to them and help them out and make their game more successful, because they deserve it and they listen to the community. So basically, at the end of the day, guys, we gotta stay positive. We gotta have an open mind, and that is how we move forward. Now, before we go, there's something else that I wanted to talk about. And now, I had this crazy idea, and I've talked about this with one other person, and you might have heard of this one other person. And basically, he goes by Why So Serious, and we got on a Discord call. We talked. Now, I'm not going to talk about something that he told me that he has plans on doing, because I'm going to let him reveal that when it's his time, whenever he wants to. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about something that I had an idea about, and later on that day, after I tweeted him, we got on Discord and we started talking about it. And I wanted to bring this to light now, because I recently saw a very recent video about how Hex had an idea to solve the Battle Royale problem of the anti-cheat, of where you could buy, they can have this, Hector basically said something along the lines of buying a camo that costs $20, and $1 out of that $20 can go into investing into an anti-cheat. And the Call of Duty community would invest in something like that, even if it was just a portion of them, and it would be enough to pay for an anti-cheat. So I actually, weeks ago, and you can ask Why So Serious himself if you want to. I don't know if he's going to see this video. He follows me on Twitter, and if he does see this video, please, if you see this, please comment something in the comment section if you want. And the thing is that I had this idea where, okay, well, since we don't like what Call of Duty is doing, why don't we just create a game ourselves? Now, I don't mean necessarily us, but I do mean funded by us, to where how much money is the average consumer spending in microtransactions? There's, 250 million players playing in Call of Duty right now? So let's dumb that down. Let's take the pandemic out of the equation and say it's an even 100 million players playing Call of Duty, from Warzone to traditional multiplayer and all that kind of stuff. And if somebody was, and let's say about 10 million people, which is only 1/10, okay, which is, 10% of that total player base, were to basically donate to an indie developer out there by a GoFundMe or whatever other way, that would be anywhere from $1 to $5. That would be anywhere from $10 million to $50 million. Let's take the median of that, which would be 25, right in the middle. $25 million to basically fund the development of a game that would kick Call of Duty's ass, because it wouldn't have all the bullshit that Call of Duty has been implemented. And it would be free to play, cross-gen, cross-play, you name it, it is there. I'm sorry, not cross-gen, because that would be too much of a problem. Cross-play. PC, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, everything. It would all be there. And it would be free to play. And anything you paid for would be 100% cosmetic. And it would play like Call of Duty, except it would be called something else, and it would do a much better job than Call of Duty ever did. And there would be an anti-cheat system in there. And then as the game gains more and more popularity, there would be even more different kinds of game modes playing in there, a whole bunch of shit, and it could be basically the next Fortnite. powered by the community. And that's one of the reasons why I also asked you guys to, for those of you guys that have time, to look into that documentary of Killer Instinct that I was telling you guys about, because it's really eye-opening. And it just goes to show you, if a community, no matter how small, actually unites, especially with the power of social media, you can do something. So the only thing is, we need to figure out how to get this thing going and who to contact, which developers, and get a team together, and then slowly grow, and how to fund them and to do it legitimately. So that way nobody feels that their $1 or $5 is being thrown away or being going to somebody who's just trying to scam them out of their money. That needs a lot of things being figured out. And who knows, we might even need to hire, some legal people to see what we can do and what we can't do and what the boundaries are, because I'm sure most of us don't know that, but I'm sure there are other people that, who knows, might even see this video and basically they might know, or at least they'll have a way to get started or point us in the right direction. But that was my idea, and that's what I was talking about with Why So Serious. And he's all down. He's all down for it. He's all about it. So, but anyway, guys, that's all I got for this one. I recorded the opposite way that I would otherwise record in this video. I just recorded the audio, and now I am going to put some sort of footage behind it. It may or may not be the most appealing footage. God knows what it's going to be. I don't know. But I wanted to get this out there, and I really just wanted to kind of open up and talk to you guys in depth and have an in-depth conversation, because it is something that I feel that we as a community are very capable of accomplishing. And on top of that, we as a community are also very capable of basically, no matter how small we are or whatnot, we're basically capable of making the decision to basically say, fuck COD, I'm not gonna support this game anymore, because, it's the equivalent of me talking to a restaurant owner and him making me eat the bad food, and then on top of that, pay for it when I'm not happy. So, after I've complained numerous amount of times. So, but anyway, that's all I got for this one, guys. I want you to let me know. For those of you guys that managed to stick around, first and foremost, thank you for watching this entire video and listening to the entirety of this commentary. But I want you guys to tell me, what do you guys think of everything? Out of all the other games that I was talking about, whether it was Halo, Apex Legends, Battlefield 6, the space combat game or whatnot, let me know in the comments section. Let me know. I'm really curious to find out. So I hope you enjoyed this for what it was worth, and thank you very much for sticking around. And for those of you guys that are fellow content creators out there, I would really absolutely appreciate it if you left some sort of feedback out there. And let's not give up now on let's not give up on accomplishing this dream. It just doesn't have to be called Call of Duty. Hope you enjoyed this, guys. Catch you guys on the next one.